this computer, and there's the button. I always think about you now, Jamie. I'm like, okay, there's the red button. Okay, so now, here's where I'm going. All right, Sarah, on the right-hand column. Now, there is this awesome theory called lock and key. Does anybody have their keys handy? Jamie, you got your keys handy? Yeah. Oh my gosh, let me take Bailey's keys. This would be complicated. Oh my gosh. Look at Bailey's keys. Holy cow. Oh man. Whew. Okay. So now listen, this is a perfect example. This could not be any better. So listen, what lock and key teaches us, and flip over to page 70 because it has another analogy. So Sarah, I'm holding Bailey's keys, which look like a spider web of joy. Okay, I have a tile app too. They're nice, aren't they? Okay, so we have some pepper spray. We have a beer opener, or let's just say beverage opener. Sorry, I don't want to make any presumptions. Okay, we have a little unicorn and it's Hercules. Okay, so glitter pepper spray. I got to be sure and keep that the wrong way. This is to your mailbox or to apartment key, mailbox, dad's house key. Oh, and she can go to Planet Fitness. Awesome. So here's what we know. If I all of a sudden were to take Bailey's keys with me, Bailey would be what? Mad and locked out of her stuff. And guess what? If I only had Bailey's keys, could I get into any of my stuff? No. So here's what we think about with lock and key. Every single gland, okay? So remember, name some of those glands. Name them. Thyroid gland, pituitary gland, adrenal gland, testes, yes, ovaries. No one says, do you liver? Liver. Okay. Now remember, those are the glands. Testosterone is not the gland, Malik. Testes are the gland. What is the hormone? Testosterone. Excellent. Now, every single one of the glands, okay, so everybody pretend like everybody show me glands. Okay. Now, every single one of the glands releases a certain hormone. Okay. Hey, what does the liver take care of? Insulin-like growth factor. Okay, so here's what we know. So Sarah, we're making fists. And so now, whenever your body says, hey, I need some testosterone or growth hormone or insulin-like growth factor, okay, those glands open up, okay, and they do this thing called downregulation, okay, and it's like waving your fingers down, okay. So glands send hormones in a down-regulating fashion. Okay. Now, whenever you flip your palms up, like you're cupping an orange, I want you to think of these things from now on as receptors. What are these? What are these? What are these? So every time I go this, you say receptor. Hey, what is this? Efficient, effective. What is this? Receptors. Okay. Every single hormone has its own receptors. Just like Bailey's key would not fit in my lock, a testosterone, when it downregulates, can't fit in an insulin receptor. Every single receptor, every single hormone has its own receptor. But do you remember the analogy of the dominoes? Yes or no? Okay, now remember this. Let's look in your book in that chart at that middle thing. And we're going to look at this middle section. Let's pretend that hormone B is downregulating and plugging into that receptor right there. Now, you do have receptors in your body that only work for testosterone. Okay? But what's really cool is you have some receptors, and if you look at this, let's say that this hormone C let's say that this might be an insulin-like growth hormone down. Hey, where's insulin-like growth hormone coming from? Liver. Where's insulin coming from? Pancreas. Let's pretend that this receptor C over here, let's just say the liver and the pancreas are secreting insulin-like growth factor and insulin, and they're plugging in to that specific receptor. Okay, so receptors are either for one specific hormone or they're for a cocktail of hormones, which is awesome. Now, here's the best thing ever. The receptors that you have to keep you anabolic, which isn't that what we want, yes or no? Okay, yes, anabolic. Come on, Eric. Do you want to be anabolic or catabolic? Anabolic. I don't need a catabolic football player because that means you're going to get sick, you're going to get weak, you're going to use muscle as fuel. Not cool. Not cool. So what's awesome is you have individual receptors for each one of those four. You have some receptors that work for testosterone and growth hormone, some that work for growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor, some that work for insulin-like growth factor and insulin. But then the best thing ever is you have some receptors that want all of those to plug into it. So think about it like this. Let's just say in your house, okay, you have a lockbox that you keep your little stuff in, okay? Now, but then in your bedroom, you have a lock on your bedroom door. And then on your house, you have a lock on your house. This is how this works. Now, in a perfect world, we would fill up these receptors, yes? Yes, we would fill up these receptors, yes? We would fill up these, we would fill up these. We would fill up these, yes or no? We would fill up these, yes or no? We would fill up these, yes or no? And we would fill up these, yes or no? Yes. Now, here's the question. You also have receptors for cortisol. Do you want to fill those up or not? No. No. Okay, because here's the thing. Have y'all ever heard about the philosophy of supply and demand? Okay, if there's more demand, what does the manufacturer have to do? Produce more supply. Now here's what's awesome. If you are anabolic and doing things that keep you anabolic, okay, the demand is going to be higher, which means what are the glands going to do? Make more, make more, make more, make more. So we want hungry anabolic receptors. We want them to say, make more because we're filled. All of a sudden, the lock and the key came in, the magic unlocked, and the muscle growth, the immune system, and the nervous system are rocking. But here's what happens. If we take an athlete and we have designed a program for them that has made them catabolic, the catabolic receptors are going to grow because of the demand that we placed on them. That sort of sounds like your body will respond to whatever you ask it to. Now, as we think about lock and key and receptors, remember, if you're not demanding it, it will shut off supply. Okay? You want your receptors to be hungry. What do you want your receptors to be? Hungry. Especially your anabolic. Do you want your catabolic receptors to be hungry? No. Your body will respond to whatever you ask it to. Now, jump over with me again to page 72. And Malik, I expected you to ask this question. You did not. This would be a Malik-like question. Okay. Malik, I'm sure you want to know how to keep your anabolic receptors hungry, don't you? Okay, so say it. Hey, Miss McKay, I want to know how to keep my anabolic receptors hungry. Okay, now I want you to flip over to page 75. Now we're going to come back, so don't get too far ahead. But there's a specific training protocol that we can engage in to keep our anabolic receptors hungry. And it's in the right-hand column of page 75. Now, I call this the Fab Five. Fab Five. Your mom called. See, we're talking about moms today. All right. So what you will say, you'll see is, you guys, if you want the most bang for your buck from your workouts, this is what you have to do. You guys, you have to work large muscles. Okay, let me ask you a question. Remember, what I like to think of it in a joking way, but it's serious. What's the first exercise that the novice does when they go into the gym? The bicep curls. Okay, so is a bicep curl creating hungry receptors? No, it is not. You've got to do large muscle group. You want to get every receptor active as possible. You guys, deadlift, power clean, squat. I like to tell people, if you're not squatting, you're not winning. If you're not squatting, you're not. If you're not squatting, you're not. If you're not squatting, you're not winning. You need to squat. People say, I can't do squats because my knees hurt. Your knees hurt because you don't do squats. Okay? Do y'all realize that we as Americans, I keep bragging about the greatness of Americans. You guys, we don't have many Americans that can all of a sudden sit down in a full butt to the ground squat anymore. Okay? We should be able, I'll be right back. We should be able to functionally do this without even thinking about it. We should have that amount of knee range of motion. But we have told people, oh, don't ever bend your knees past 90 degrees. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Isn't that funny? No one ever asking. You know, we have people do squats just to 90 degrees and come back up. Now, I'm not saying you need to do max squatting butt to the ground, but you know what? I tell people you need to practice sitting butt to the ground. Okay? Your knees have that kind of many degrees, so use them. You guys, most old people in the United States can't do that. Do you know that there are cultures all over the world that that's how they take care of their business? Yes or no? And I'm talking about take care of their business. Okay? They don't have all nice, tall, shiny potties. You squat and you take care of business. But it's that whole thing of being able to go all the way to the ground. What's the only plane that the knee moves in? Sagittal plane. So we should be able to, you guys, and should your knee joint move, does your knee joint move past 90 degrees? Yes, so why aren't we doing that? So one of the things I want you to do for homework is, I want you to practice sitting deep. Now, if you're not used to it, then don't do it first thing. Just start practicing going past 90 degrees more and more and more. You guys, I do that about 10 or 15 times a day. Okay? I just want to be able to ensure that I can always go bottom down to the ground and back up out of it. What? I want to be able to do that, so I do that. And then another thing that I really try to do at least once a day is, and I do it when I'm really warm at the end of a workout, is just to get in that big squat and just hang out there and let my connective tissue, when it's warm, hey, what's that stuff, that fluid, that synovial fluid? When that synovial fluid is warm, I like to get in that deep squat position and let my multi-axial joints, my uniaxial joints, and my biaxial joints really absorb all of that change. It's good. Move the way your body was designed to move, and you can stay efficient and effective forever. So you guys, you've got to do large muscle group activities, large muscle groups. Okay, and here's what's scary to some people. You guys, you've got to go heavy. Okay, some, especially females, tend to be scared of lifting heavy weight. You guys, we're talking 85 to 95% of your 1 rep max. This is how you make your anabolic receptors hungry. Remember, your body will respond to whatever you ask it to. You guys, you've got to go heavy. And I don't know what it is about females that really are scared of heavy, because here's the thing. You can change your body more with, I hear, like, I'm going to lose some weight before I start lifting heavy. Okay, the easiest way to change your metabolic rate is to lift heavy. So don't be scared of heavy. Now, what I will say is, if you're not used to lifting this heavy, I'm going to tell you not to aggressively start to do it, but to progressively start to overload that. Okay? You guys, you got to have moderate to high volume. You guys, and I'm not talking about the volume in your headphones while you're working out. Okay? What does volume look like when we talk about in a workout? Does anyone know how to determine volume in a workout? Okay, reps times sets times the weight. Okay? If you're not keeping up with how many reps you're doing, how many sets you're doing, with what weight that you're doing, you're never going to know if you're getting stronger. And then what will happen is your body will get used to doing that. You guys, you've got to go back and alarm it every now and then. You have to. You guys, Fab5 stimulates Hans-Selye's general adaptation syndrome. You will alarm it, there will be a reduction, and then a better function. And it's because you fed those receptors. Oh, it's just so amazing. I should have been an endocrinologist. Okay, here's what's number 4. Short rest. You guys, in between sets, you don't need to be resting more than 30 seconds or a minute. You know what's crazy that we did as Americans? We are like, okay, a workout's got to last an hour. No, it doesn't. Okay, you guys, if you are efficient and effective in your workout, you can get a ton done in 20 to 30 minutes if you're managing your rest intervals. I love it when I walk into a gym and there's a clock running. Okay, there's a clock running in the weight room all the time. It keeps you on task. You guys, I'm a Fitbit wearer, and when I am working out, I go into my settings and I set my Fitbit to buzz every single minute on the minute for just that workout. So I can actually know that I am working a minute and resting a minute, and I change those intervals up. Now, what's interesting is, how many times have you seen people goofing off in between sets? What are we going to have for dinner tonight? Hey, look at the guy over in the corner. Hey, you think we should go to the bar tonight? No, we should probably study. No, I don't know. And before you know it, people have been standing around for 5 minutes in between sets. Yes or no? Yes. You know what? They're not stimulating hungry receptors, which means they're not sending the message for the factories to supply the demand, because they're not creating demand. You want your receptors to demand product, and it will if you will train this way. Now, the other tricky thing, It says 2 years of experience. This one kind of bothers me in one way, because here's what you have to know. Do not take this outside this wall, especially this one. Okay, if you start to tell someone who is a new exerciser or new to trying to really start to change things, if you walk in and you say, hey, you're not going to see any changes for 2 years. What is that person going to do?
Stop.
Like, forget that. Okay, they really will. But what we know is during this acclimation time of being a regular strength trainer, okay, being a beast in the gym, during this time, your exercise program, your strength training program is going to create a little bit more stress than it does until you adapt to a new normal. And I hate it that it actually says 2 years in one way, but you guys, I've had this make people start thinking earlier in their life. Here's what I'll tell people. If you will start strength training like this, the earliest that you can, the stronger you will be for the duration of your life. Start training heavy early, keep training heavy long. You guys, even with my mother-in-law, okay, Betty's about to be 91. 1 day a week on her strength training program that I have written for her, 1 day a week, she goes heavy. Now, granted, heavy for her, you guys, is going to be, she'll do like a flat bench press, okay? And she's still rocking with 25, 30-pound dumbbells, okay? So for her, that's her heavy stimulation days. To be sure that she keeps her receptors hungry, okay? Because even at 91 years old, her body is still making hormones because she has stimulated it too. So many people just give up on their receptors. They give up on their factories. Have y'all heard the song, Sick and Tired of Being Sick and Tired? There are people that don't realize why they feel bad. And it's because they haven't stimulated the demand of their receptors to have the factories crank out product. And so whenever we Fab 5 train, we can really keep these receptors rocking and rolling. Now, here's what's the tricky edge. Let's just say that, how many times a week did I say that Betty did Fab 5? 1 day a week. Okay. Now here's what I'll say. Does this need to be what your workout looks like every single day? No way. If all of a sudden you are doing this kind of training every single day, you are going to end up being overtrained, which receptors is that going to now make hungry? Your catabolic receptors. So then whenever you shift into catabolic, you're going to use all of that muscle that you have been trying to build through that process of gluconeogenesis, okay? I like to tell people gluconeogenesis. In the beginning, there was protein and it got made into glucose. Kind of like the Genesis being in the Bible. Gluconeogenesis. There was a new kind of glucose made in the beginning, and it was from protein, which is never what we want. So again, I tell people, you guys, 2 days a week. 2 days a week, go heavy. And then the rest of the time, you know, keep it sort of in a hypertrophy range at about 75%. Some days do a crazy fun interval thing. Some days go swim. Do all kinds of different things. But really, Fab 5, about 2 days a week. And you will keep your receptors. And which ones? The anabolic ones or the catabolic? The anabolic receptors. Okay? So again, think about every single one of these hormones plugging in, being a demand on the factory. So here's what happens. Let's just say you stop training. Let's just say, I'm tired of going to the gym. I'm over it. What's going to happen to these hungry receptors?
Well, there's less demand, so they're going to stop supplying.
All of a sudden, the receptors are like, okay? Now think about it like this. What kind of people are you? Okay. Have y'all ever heard about people with type 2 diabetes? They actually call that insulin resistant, which means for people that are insulin resistant, their receptors no longer open up to receive the insulin from where does insulin come from? The pancreas, because the pancreas isn't making as much anymore. So so that little bit that's being down-regulated, it's almost like that lock and that key doesn't fit anymore, so it doesn't open it. So what happens to the blood sugar? It stays what? It stays high. Once you become insulin resistant, it no longer manages your blood sugar. But guess what will happen? If I will consume fewer crap carbohydrates or no crap carbohydrates and fewer carbohydrates and start Fab 5 training, what do you think might happen to my insulin receptors? They can get hungry again. You guys, this is why we say that exercise is medicine. So many times we hear doctors writing a prescription for a drug instead of recommending nutrition and movement. You guys, this kind of training will keep you anabolic, vibrant, younger. You guys, this is the fountain of youth. This is the fountain of youth. Because let's flip over to page, okay? Flip over to page, come with me, Sarah. Come over to page 78. And let's look at all of those amazing things. And we mentioned some of the jobs that growth hormone does. You guys, growth hormone actually decreases glucose utilization. So it sort of saves that glucose for us so that it doesn't have to come from protein. It doesn't have to gluconeogenify. That's a made-up McKay word. Okay, you guys, it decreases our glycogen synthesis, which means we're actually utilizing fat as fuel. Okay, you guys, this is where we see the amino acids transferring into the cell. Which if I have an amino acid go into a cell, what is that cell going to do? Expand and grow. Muscle hypertrophy. So you've heard that before. Muscular hypertrophy. Okay? It increases protein synthesis. Is that a win or a lose? That's a win. Now, here's a fancy word. It increases lipolysis. Good thing or bad thing? Good thing. What does that mean? Fat breakdown. Okay. Do you think it's interesting that the word lipolysis and lipase kind of are the same thing? Because what does lipase do? It's that enzyme that does what? Breaks down fat. So all of a sudden, growth hormone is really helping me break down fat. Okay? Again, growth hormone is going to let me use that glucose and those amino acids so that I don't have to use what? Muscle or protein. I'll always take either one of those answers. Okay? You guys, it increases collagen synthesis. What in the world is collagen? Skin? hair, fingernails, all of that. Collagen is that, okay, has anyone ever seen like a honeycomb? Okay, where bees would, okay. Collagen is almost that entire network that encases things. It just kind of keeps things structural. Now, can you throw a rock at a beehive and crash it? Sure. But it does provide just some structural network. Now, here's the thing. The younger you are, the more collagen you have, okay? But we remember, if we're increasing growth hormone, we can increase collagen. Remember how I said this is sort of the fountain of youth? Okay, what I want you to do is every one of you take your index finger and I just want you to punch it into your cheek. Okay, all of you beautiful young skin, collagen people, what does your skin do? It bounces right back. So what we know is if we can keep that elasticity, our muscles love that. So if your skin will bounce back, don't you think your muscles will bounce back too? We want that collagen in our body. One of the supplements, and I don't think I talked about this in sports nutrition, so this might be one of the things to, okay? I took extra glucosamine and extra collagen as I was going through the Achilles repair, okay? Because I need that extra bounce back. You know, I don't have as much as I used to. I'm 49 years old. So I just don't have as much. So I put that collagen in for that repairing of tissue. Okay? You guys, it stimulates cartilage growth. Some people think that once your cartilage is messed up, your cartilage is messed up the rest of your life. It's not if you will stimulate the anabolic chain. We also see it being increased retention. Now listen, you know this. If I say nitrogen, sodium, potassium, and phosphorus, if I were to call all those things, what would be a good thing to call those? Your electrolytes. Okay? I know that the whole thing, you might not have known about nitrogen being connected to your electrolytes, but you guys, growth hormone can help keep your electrolytes balanced. That is awesome. Okay? You remember we talked about kidneys? Yes or no? You guys, growth hormone can help your kidneys stay healthy. Okay? What? That's right. Make them more efficient and effective. You guys, it also can help with compensatory renal hypertrophy. Yes, you don't want your kidneys to hypertrophy. You want them to stay, so it compensates for that. The other thing that it does is it enhances your immune cell functions. All of these things come from growth hormone, which comes from your pituitary gland. Okay? That is so amazing. And simply by doing this specific formula of working out, you can stay anabolic. Now, I'm going to give Malik a hard time here. For those of you that don't know, Malik is a college athlete on our football team and track team, dual sport athlete, and he is also in sports nutrition. Okay, so what we talk about here is which one of these 4 hormones is probably the most sensitive to what you eat. Insulin, because the minute that you eat sugar, where's insulin come from?
Pancreas.
Your pancreas secretes insulin. Now here's what we know. Is the goal to keep our blood sugar stable or to have our blood sugar rise and crash? Stable. Okay, now here we go, Malik. So would I want you as my athlete to stay in the anabolic window as long as possible. Yes or no? Yes. So here's the thing. When you go and crush it at that morning workout and you come to sports nutrition with the honey bun, okay, with that heavy squat, you stimulated testosterone. It stimulated growth hormone. It stimulated insulin growth factor. And it stimulated insulin. And all of a sudden, your blood sugar spiked and then crashed. Which means the last domino fell. Think about that. Okay, so let me tell you what we need to happen in the post-workout phase. So after I go and I'm involved in this, what I need to do is I need to consume a meal that contains fat, protein, and carbohydrate. Because you remember, if you look at growth hormone, you guys, it talks about protein synthesis. So if I'm not putting fuel in the tank, I can't help this growth hormone. So what I need to do is I need to eat a meal that's going to increase my blood sugar a little bit, but get me over here to where I'm at better function for a long time. Because here's what's interesting. After growth hormone has been stimulated, what stimulates next?
Insulin-like growth factor.
And where does insulin-like growth factor come from? The liver, okay? Now, you guys, insulin-like growth factor levels can stay up for up to 72 hours. Okay? In your book, when it talks about insulin-like growth factor, over here on page 80, okay, the one thing that we have to remember, okay, with insulin-like growth factors is it has a prolific role in keeping us anabolic. You guys, it will keep us going and going and going in this anabolic window because I have maintained it with a proper insulin balance. So the 72 hours post-workout are when the demand is the highest, so the factories crank out the supply if you keep your blood sugar stable. If you don't keep your blood sugar stable, you're not getting the most from your workout. And you get to choose that from what you put in your mouth. Insulin-like growth factor can have a prolific role because it's so important. Now, if you'll remember, I talked about a specific receptor right here that works with IGF and with insulin. So how cool is this? Think about it. What kind of people are you? Smart people. And I'm saying this again because it's so important. We can manage diabetes, both type 1 and type 2, better if we can really train Fab5 and keep insulin levels rolling so these receptors stay open. Because remember, part of this one right here is also insulin. And if that's not trickling down to open up that receptor says, you're not going to use me, I'm going to close up shop. It's beautiful how it happens when we let it. And you guys, here's what I'm asking. Does this necessarily cost anything other than maybe a gym membership? Doesn't cost a thing. This has no adverse effects. You know how y'all have started hearing drugs and you hear an advertisement for a drug and it lists all the side effects of the drug and it makes the drug almost sound more harmful because of the side effects that it gives? Yes or no? Yes. So what if this becomes our drug? I'm just telling you guys, this is my drug of choice. This is an antidepressant. This is an anabolic steroid. This is everything that you can need. You just have to do the work. Why don't Americans want to do the work? Yes. And I hate that. I hate that people with diabetes would rather take a drug called gluconeogenesis or get insulin injections instead of using this as their drug to reduce their risk and not have to deal with the side effects. But also one of the problems is how many doctors are recommending this as compared to writing that prescription? None of them are.
It costs a lot. They need to make a bunch of money.
So in a strange way, doctors are killing us. Do you see how stupid that is? And what kind of people are we? Smart people. You guys, that physicians do not have any training in this, and most physicians have not had any training in nutrition. And yet, remember what's the #1 killer in the United States? Heart disease. But what's the #1 way to prevent heart disease? Preventing diabetes. If we can change diabetes, we can change heart disease. And this is how you do it. You guys, this will work. I have seen people that get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes that all of a sudden have a come to Jesus meeting with themselves and they start training and they stop eating crap. And guess what? All of a sudden their blood sugar levels are better functioning. All of a sudden they feel better. You guys, are we good friends? Yes. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. You guys, when you think about testosterone, you not only think of muscle growth and you think of men. You guys, what's another main thing with testosterone?
Steroids?
Not steroids. Sex drive. Okay. You guys, when women and men have normal, healthy levels of testosterone, you have a higher sex drive, which according to many studies actually leads to a higher quality of life. Do the math. So we all of a sudden see people feeling better. We all of a sudden now see them having better cartilage, having better collagen, burning fat. Remember that's called lipolysis. What's the enzyme that does that? Lipase. So all of a sudden they're stronger, they're fitter, they feel better, their blood sugar is managed instead of taking gluconeogenesis. Okay, you want to know what's also, you mentioned about money. Okay, currently gluconeogenesis does not come in a generic form, which brand name drugs are expensive, even with good insurance plans. Okay, even with a fabulous insurance plan, gluconeogenesis costs about $120 a month. Okay? What's $120 a month times 12? What's 12 times 12?
144.
144. So 1,000 $440 a year if you would just take this medicine. You could go on a vacation, and guess what? You would feel great on that vacation if you would just do the work. You guys, I know people that are type 1 diabetic, that their yearly insulin bill, you guys, is $10,000 for their insulin. I know someone who started doing this and really started eating low carb, and they were able to reduce their insulin cost by $5,000. They cut their insulin bill in half over a year. Yes, that means retiring earlier. That means putting money in your kid's college account. That means quality of life. But Americans aren't willing to do the work, which is why we have to be the ones to continue to spread this good news. Most people are in a state of breakdown instead of in a state of buildup. We're sedentary. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Catabolic happens at two extremes. Catabolic happens with not enough movement or overtraining. This is the sweet spot. Okay, here's what's so cool about this. One of the sentences in the beginning of your book says that you can naturally manipulate. And we kind of tend to think about manipulation as a negative word. But you can naturally manipulate your endocrine system to keep you anabolic if you will think about these hormones. Think about these hormones and do everything you can do to keep these receptors hungry. Keep the demand going from the factories. Okay, so tomorrow, okay, we actually are going to almost finish this chapter. We have a really cool thing about growth hormone, which is awesome, especially for females, because we don't have as much testosterone as males. But we have a way of making up for it with growth hormone. Remember, and if I can stimulate growth hormone, I can stimulate IGF for up to 72 hours. And if I'll pay attention and not eat crap, we can make that happen. Okay, tomorrow we really talk like friends and we solve the secrets of the universe. Okay, tomorrow, if you're a female, you need to know this. Tomorrow, if you like females, you need to know this. Okay, you need to know this tomorrow. So God bless you all. I will see you tomorrow.